The South African Health Products Regulatory Authority has approved the use of China's Sinovac vaccine in the fight against COVID-19. The regulator announced that it would allow Sinovac to be used and that it will, for now, be used for people aged between 18 and 59 years old. To talk more about its efficacy against the Delta variant, we're joined by Anton Arendse, who's the Chief Operating Officer at the Nomalix Group, representing Sinovac in Africa. Good evening, and thank you so much for your time tonight. You are probably welcoming the latest developments.
Absolutely, Bongiwe. We've been working long and hard to get this approval, but there's still much to be done. I often say to some of your colleagues that really we've just made it to the starting line with the emergency use approval that we've received from Sinovac. So we are delighted. We are delighted.
Let's talk about some of the conditions, though, that are still yet to be met, because it's not all systems go, as you say, that you're just in the starting line. Certainly, it looks like there is some stuff that, in a form of data that needs to then be put forward around safety. When are you then doing that, and when can we then see the rollout?
Look, I think one needs to understand the type of approval that has been offered by the regulator. And importantly, the conditions that have been set for us are not peculiar to Sinovac. In fact, those conditions have been set for all of the vaccines that have been approved by Sinovac over the past 12 months. It specifically is emergency use approval, and the conditions attached to that is that in the normal course of things, there are specific tests and there are specific trials that need to be undertaken in order for full approval to be done. Just given the extraordinary circumstances that we find ourselves in, Sahpra has deemed it fit, including the World Health Organization, that we need to accelerate the release of vaccines, not only in South Africa, but globally. And so the conditions that have been set are not unusual. In fact, we expected those conditions to come along with the emergency use approval. So this is work that is ongoing, and as the vaccine gets rolled out, so we need to do what typically is referred to in the sector as pharmacovigilance, where we are needing to record and report any out of the ordinary issues as they pertain to the vaccine. But I do need to stress that the condition you refer to, or the conditions that you refer to, they are not peculiar to Sinovac. They really are pertinent to all of the vaccines that have been given emergency use approval.
So what I hear you to say then, Anton, is that it will be administered, but you will then monitor very closely the safety and also what happens then to people who it's administered to, so that you can then be able to get the data as you continue with this process. So is that what you're saying as part of this emergency approval?
Indeed. Okay. Indeed. It's, as indicated, the broad term used for this is pharmacovigilance, and in short, it is the reporting of the use of the vaccine, and specifically any instances that are untoward.
And just how much are you hoping this then contributes to the country's vaccination rollout program? Because we have seen experts who are actually saying that the program is really in dire need of ensuring that there's more vaccines that are really administered, because the population really needs this.
Bongiwe, I think much has been said about South Africa's rollout program. So really, we're not going to add to the woes. At this point, what we can say is that Sinovac has committed 5 million, and in fact stands ready to commit an immediate 2.5 million doses, contingent, of course, on the finalization of negotiations with the Department of Health, as well as our having resolved all of the logistics and institutional arrangements between ourselves and the Department of Health. So we stand ready. And I do wish to confirm that the first 2.5 million doses Sinovac has already agreed to release as soon as all of what I've just listed has been put in place.
And I wonder then if you're able to take us into your confidence to tell us about these negotiations with the Department of Health. How far are they?
We have initiated conversation. I think it would be improper for me to really divulge what is happening behind those doors at this time.
So, Anton,
safe to say, we are doing this for South Africa. We are doing it to vaccinate our people. And throughout of this process, if we were not convinced that we have a quality product that we're able to make available to South Africa at a reasonable price, we would not have undertaken this very daunting endeavor. Thanks.
And South Africa appreciates that because we do need more vaccines, but there have been calls that these doses need to be available by September, and I wonder then, without then revealing much of these negotiations, are you confident though that the way things are going, this deadline that some experts are calling for might be met?
I'm not too familiar with the September deadline. What I can indeed commit here is that of the 5 million that has been set aside for South Africa, the first 5 million can be on our shores by the end of July, with the balance by the middle of August. So if there are any undue delays, it certainly would not be on our part or on the part of Sinovac.
All right, I tell you what, you are really tight-lipped about these negotiations as we try to just get a sense of what exactly happens here. But we have seen, in some reports that this particular vaccine, data from a country like Uruguay, that was released last month, shows that it was over 90% effective in reducing both intensive care admissions as well as death. This surely may just be some kind of good news for those who may receive this particular vaccine, if this data that was reported in Uruguay is to be believed.
One needs to have a balanced view of the trials that have been undertaken. So you've cited one specific trial. There were others as well that were done in Brazil with frontline health workers. And in those instances, the results were slightly less favorable. But the bottom line is, where these tests have been undertaken in the normal population, as you'd indicated, efficacy was as high as 95%. And they confirm that the efficacy compares very favorably to some of the other vaccines that are available, not only globally, but also in South Africa.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Anton. Certainly do appreciate it tonight. That was Anton Arendse, Chief Operating Officer of the Nomilux Groups representing Sinovac in South Africa. Let's move